discussion topics for today. Got lots of videos for you because some of the stuff is more than I was comfortable with a straight demo doing. And I'm glad I did because it takes a while to do it. Okay. We're going to talk about your medical data. On your phone, there is medical data that you should keep updated. So if something happens to you, the medical personnel will be able to see what medicines you take, what allergies you have, all without having to get into your phone. Okay. So we're going to take a look at that first. Now let's take a look at updating the health data. First, open up your settings application, then enter health in the search bar, and open up the health section. And now let's go down and take a look at health details. This is all the details about you that should be filled out. Now let's go into medical ID. And this is all the information about your medical background, more specifically emergency contacts. If you need to update this, hit the edit button, and you can go in and change all that information, especially your emergency contacts. And that's all there is to it. So that's on your iPhone. You can also do it on your iPad and on your Mac. Updating health information. It's a health app. I had to block, since this is going to be posted on the internet, I had to block out personal information. But it has all of my surgeries in there. It has all of my medication, everything, and use the health app to fill that out. Before you can really use emergency services on your iPhone, you need to check a few settings. Let's open the settings application and search for emergency settings. The first thing you see is how to activate an emergency call, and given the option to activate on a long hold. You can also have the option of activation of an emergency call with 5 presses of the side button. Another option is to play a warning sound for an emergency SOS. If you are in a car crash, you have the option to have the phone automatically call in an emergency for you. While very good, is not 100% and can occasionally give a false crash, but overall works very well and you are encouraged to leave it on. We also encourage you to leave the default settings unless you have a very good reason to change them. When an emergency call is activated, your emergency contacts are automatically informed. If you have not designated emergency contacts in the health app, you are encouraged to. The last service is only available on the iPhone 14 so far, and that is the use of satellites for emergencies. We will now take a look at the demo for this service. The use of satellite services should only be done when no other form of communication can be achieved. For the first year, Apple is paying for the service. There is currently no indication of a future price. But if you are stuck where there is no cell phone signal, this could save your life. During an emergency, you'll be asked a series of questions to ensure the proper services are dispatched to your location. The first operation is to test the satellite connection. You have to be connected to a satellite in order to use these services. You must turn off your cellular connection in order to make a satellite connection. You also must be outside with a clear view of the sky. Nothing can be obstructing your view of the sky. The phone will attempt to locate your position on a nearby satellite. You will be notified when it finds an approaching satellite. Once a satellite is located, you'll be notified that you have connected to the satellite. You might have to turn your body a bit towards the satellite to get a connection. A text message conversation will be started between you and a dispatcher to provide information on the situation. And to answer the question you are thinking, yes, there are humans on the other side. They are referred to as dispatchers. The conversation will continue with questions until there is enough information to dispatch services to your location. We will continue to watch as the demo progresses with no further narration. Yeah, Barry.
You said that there was the first report of this actually saving somebody in the wild. One of the things that I had heard about that was that the emergency services personnel were really impressed with the accuracy and the amount of information that they received before they headed out. And, the GPS coordinates that they received were like, within feet of where this person really was out of snowpack or whatever. So it was very, very good.
Yeah, one of the things very interesting about this is the accuracy they give it on this one is down to 1 square meter, which by law is as finite as they can get. The GPSs that you get with the satellite phones, these satellite hikers, is a 30-meter square. 30 meters is a pretty big area. So, yeah, you can get pinpoint. Right now, Apple is not charging for this service. It's free. We don't know how much it's going to be, but I don't think it's going to be a lot because unless it gets abused. If people start abusing it, which I don't think is going to happen because people are so elated to have this because, like, I've worried. I've been up, I was up here at Brown Canyon before they put in the new tower near there, and I couldn't get cell service out. I was saying to myself, what happens if I get bit by a snake? Okay, I can't contact anybody. Now, I will tell you, in putting this demo together, I first said, I don't have to be outside for this. I was indoors, can't get satellite. I said, okay, they're not kidding. So I had to go outside. And when you saw that the went green, that was me with my phone holding it. And, as the satellite approached, and I had to turn my phone until it locked onto the satellite. Now, you can't see that. Was it easy to do? Yes. Even my wife was impressed with how easy it was. If you can send a text message, you can use this. It was very impressive how they managed to get a satellite transponder or transmitter into the phone. It's got me beat because normally they are large devices. So I don't know what Apple did, but it's amazing they did it. Okay, any questions on the satellite services? The big one coming up is the last one on the AppleWatch, and we're going to spend a lot of time talking about that one. The next thing is legacy contacts, what they are. We're going to go and take a look at setting it up. I've got a video on this one. Okay, let's take a look at the video on setting up legacy contacts. To update or establish your legacy contacts, the first thing you do is go to Settings, then select your name in the settings, then select Password Security, then scroll down to Legacy Contact. Selecting Legacy Contact opens up the ability to add and modify legacy contacts. That's all. So setting up, it doesn't take much to do. It's very easy to do. The inevitable is going to happen. We don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen to all of us eventually. And so you want to make sure that they can reach data. Now, passwords, I use a password manager, and my wife has got my password for my machine so she can get into it. Make sure you have that written down someplace so people can get into it, because you can't believe how many times, about 4 times a year, I'll get a call from somebody saying, X has passed away. Oh, speaking of which, I forgot to put it in here. We got some very bad news this past week. Roland McDonald, I don't know if I do, you guys remember Roland. He was a member for ages. Passed away. I got a note from his wife. Very sad. One of Roland's last wishes was for her to say goodbye to us. So I'm passing that along. He was a great guy. One hell of a pilot. In fact, I can't remember what it was. The event that they have at the airfield for kids to fly in planes, I can't remember the name of it. He is the one who sponsored that. And had it right here at Sierra Vista. And he was always there with his plane. His son, and whose name I cannot remember right now, I don't remember, is an artist, an exceptional artist that does games. And one of the games that he did, you remember a couple years back during the Apple demos, they showed a motorcycle using the iPhone with a motorcycle game. That was his. And there used to be the one with the Santa Claus, the stupid dumb app for the phone with the Santa Claus. That was his also. Okay, now we're going to get some real heavyweight business. Using your Apple Watch, that's this thing right here. If you are over 60 years old and you don't own an Apple Watch, you're wrong. Okay, I'm just going to flat tell you that. You're wrong. If nothing else, what this does is it monitors what you are doing. It'll let you know about your heart rate. It keeps track of a lot of your health information. But most importantly is if you fall, it knows it and can get a hold of emergency services for you with you doing nothing. If you are eating bread, pounding on a work surface, it will trigger thinking that you might have fallen. If you're on a roller coaster, it will trigger it sometimes. My daughter and I got a big fight about that over Guardians of the Galaxy. Hers triggered for a fall. Mine did not. And that, I know why, is that she was just waving her hands, and it's a hell of a ride. It really is. So what we're going to take a look at now, I don't know if any of you have the emergency alert lanyards that you can purchase, the ones you wear around your neck, and if you fall, it will trigger. That's what we're going to compare the watch to. Currently, watches run from, and need to have one with cellular for this to work well, from about $4.99 up. You can get prior models even cheaper. I think the cheapest you can go is $2.99 up to $7.99 for an Apple Watch. It will do much more than just record a fall. The medical alert lanyards, as far as I know, will not detect a fall. They'll respond to you initiating you fell, but it doesn't know that you have fallen. Give you an example of what happened. I don't know if many of you remember Alice Emmons, Jim Emmons' mom. Well, Alice fell one night, and I was supposed to have coffee with her the next morning, so I went over to her house and knocked on the door. No answer. Well, that's really unusual. And finally, I heard this faint calling. She had fallen. She could not get up. She had been there all night. I was able to get in because I had the passcode to her door. Helped her up. She got a medical alert. She had to trigger it herself. If she were still alive, I'd make sure she get one of these because these are phenomenal. They really work. I have triggered it so many times. It could have been a real fall. And one time when I did fall, accidentally, I tripped, it triggered it. And if I don't tell it I'm okay, it will automatically contact emergency services, give them my location down to 1 square meter. And I'll tell you that even in Sierra Vista, 1 square meter, you can find me. The only place it doesn't work real well is if you're in a multi-story building with no Wi-Fi. If it has Wi-Fi, it'll pinpoint the floor you're on. If the building does not have Wi-Fi that you're connected, emergency Wi-Fi, then it can't tell the responders what floor you're on. But you can talk through your watch and tell them if you're conscious. But I don't consider that to be the alternatives don't give you anything. I recommend if you want it for a medical alert, you get one that has a cellular contact. Okay, let's say here's what a medical alert lanyard. This is when Consumer Reports recommends. Big devices, you have to wear a lanyard. You have to trigger it. You pay for the service. Most of them give you the equipment and charge you $20 and up a month. Okay, $20 a month versus $300. I'll pay for the Apple Watch in 2 years easily. And I've got a lot more than a lanyard I have to wear every place.
If you have the cellular watch, it's also a cellular fee.
$10 a month. Yeah. No, you can't. So it's got more advantages than the lanyard, which is a single-purpose unitasker. Now, I have since found out, I had down here both. I need to change that right now. The lanyards don't have fall detection I've been able to find. I thought they did. They don't. At least if they do, they don't advertise it. Medical alert is a unitasker. It's only for alert. Doesn't give you anything else. But it does give you a human to talk to right up front. And they'll ask you. And if you trigger it and you don't respond, then they will call your emergency contacts and call emergency services for you. The cost ends up being very, very close. I swear, as a matter of fact, Bob, I don't remember him. He and I had a big discussion about this. Should I get an Apple Watch or the medical alert? Because he had a fall. He ended up getting it, the watch. It took a while to get used to it. It works, especially if you take a fall. You need emergency contact information. On your phone, and I forgot to put this up here. On your phone, if you trigger it, you learn to turn it off. It says, is the alert on there? Do you need emergency services? Well, if you tap that, you get all kinds of information for emergency services. If you're found with your phone unconscious, they can find out all kinds of things for you. That ended early today. I was expecting more discussion. Yeah, Mike.
A little bit of trivia on that. I was contacted about being part of a health study because of certain medications I take. And when I was looking into it, one of the things they asked was, do you have an Apple Watch? I said, no. I said, okay. And I wound up getting into this. Basically, it looks like what the study is how will the Apple Watch monitor certain health conditions? And since I don't have one, I'm part of the control of it. So instead of doing the Apple Watch, I'm physically telling them, yes, this is happening, or they're also monitoring my health app.
Right.
The iPhone as well. So despite the condition of that, it's a 3-year-old study for 3 years. Agreed. I can't buy an Apple Watch.
Oh, no. Oh, no. You know, the Apple Watch, you know, what I find interesting is that heart rate. For some reason, the doctor says not to be worried about it, but I quite often have a slow heart. I drop below 50 beats per minute, and sometimes as low as 40. The watch notifies me of it. And I also get above 100. What really bothers me is I'm sitting there doing nothing, and all of a sudden my heart is racing. It alerted me to talk to the doctor about it. And he said, how often is this happening? I said, well, maybe once a month. I said, don't worry about that. If it starts happening like once a week or once a day, come and see me fast. It monitors medication. This is really cool. You can set up in the new health app when to take meds, and it'll come up and say, it is time to take your meds. And you say, okay, I've done it. And you can schedule all your medicines to remind you. You seldom are without your watch. At least the only time I don't have my watch on is when I'm charging it. So, you know, it's like, yeah, I know, you know, it's nagging like a wife. But you can set that up. It reminds me of when I have to take stuff. I've gone in and showed the doctor traces that it's taken care of, like the heart thing. He saw I had an Apple Watch. He says, show me on your phone, you know, with a trace on it. And he says, you're looking fine. Yeah, thank you. They are eventually you will get blood sugar. Now, right now, you have to have a separate device that works with your iPhone for blood sugar. The problem is how to do it without pricking and getting blood. They thought they had it 2 years ago. Blood oxygen does real well on that. Blood sugar, they thought they had it. It went into extensive trials and only worked 50% of the time. Almost exactly 50%. Blood pressure, we should be seeing that next year, where it'll constantly monitor blood pressure, which I think is phenomenal. You can get an app that does that. It's not very accurate. And Apple's saying until we can get it accurate, the app that you can get errs on the high side. So it says your blood pressure is actually higher than it really is. Because I tried it and used it, and I panicked because it showed my blood pressure being really high. And so I went right down to the doctor. I said, hey, you know, and they took it and they said, no, you're fine. Yes, ma'am. You do have to have an iPhone. It's a companion piece. There have been rumors that there'll be a standalone watch coming. It has not happened yet. But if you don't have an iPhone, you should. The advantage is...
Let's spend our money for it.
Well, you know, here's my logic, okay? I go by the number of calls I get from people for support. I will get, on an average week, 4 to 5 calls for Android, all about the same problems, which is malware. On an iPhone, I've gotten this past year 2, I think, maybe 3. Rarely do I get one. And it's all about something, you know, how do I do X? Or should I update this? Most of them come from the same guy. He's been a friend of mine for years. He and the iPhone do not get along at all. It's just, it doesn't think the way he does. In fact, he's the one who asked me this morning about the follow-up. You know, why am I getting these follow-ups? For ease of use, for lack of malware, for consistency of user interface, the iPhone is definitely the way to go. But the Apple Watch, definitely for health services by itself. As a matter of fact, I talked to my sister and I was asking her about it. She said, no, I don't need a damn Apple Watch, blah, blah, blah. And her doctor, she was in getting her yearly physical, and he wanted to know why she didn't have one. He said, why are you not wearing an Apple Watch? And he said, I want you to start using it. And her insurance, she got a 15% discount on her health insurance because she has one now. And she was, you know, she called me up and she says, did you know this? Well, I have TRICARE and Medicare. She has a supplement, and I don't. It's from her old business, I think. They give her 15%. TRICARE doesn't care. But she got 15% just because she had the Apple Watch. And so she's trying to convince her husband now, hates iPhones with a passion. She has one because of where she worked at, she had it. But she actually ended up liking it. Carolyn.
If the doctor recommended that you have this, then your insurance should be covering it. I mean, for the app.
That's been a discussion, and the logic the insurance companies use is it's not a dedicated health device. It is strongly recommended, and because of that, we are giving you a discount. And with hers, it pretty much covers the monthly payment on an iPhone. But yeah, that point has been brought up, and there are circumstances I have heard about secondhand of insurance companies actually paying for it.
The health study, because they said, we'll put you in one of the groups and either with an Apple Watch or without. And if you happen to not have an Apple Watch, you straight to the Apple Watch group. We will either basically loan you a watch for 3 years or like buy one at like half price. So that's kind of like,
Medical field is getting more and more automated. I just went to the dentist a couple weeks ago, and he now has digital x-rays. The results are immediate. I mean, you take the x-ray and we look at the monitor, it's right there. There's been other digital x-rays around town. But for the dentist, he just put it in, and what his does is it examines your teeth and looks for problems and says, I think this may be a problem, and circles it. I thought, and he took a look at it and said, that's just a bad filling. You know, how old is that filling? I said, you expect me to, well, in this particular case, I knew exactly how old it was. I got it when I was 11. I remember the exact tooth. So he said, it's old, very, very old. He says, it's still in that good a shape? I said, yeah. He says, well, that's actually quite commendable. Because in this case, it was true silver, as opposed to what they use now is it's not pure, an amalgam. Yeah. He says, that's probably why, but yeah, it triggered it because it didn't recognize it. I thought it's one hell of a big cavity. Okay, any other questions? Yes, ma'am. Good. If you have Apple TV, there is a new musical called Spirited. It was a lot. You know, I don't like Will Ferrell to begin with. Okay, so I wasn't going to watch it, and then I finally put it on, and I said, you know, this is getting pretty good. You know, and it ended up being a really good take on a Christmas Carol story. I do recommend people watching it. I was pleasantly surprised at how good it was. Or the trick I told everybody about, holding down the press key, the select button, it brings up a contextual menu, and you can clear out what's up next. In some apps, what's next or continue watching, it works. Others, it doesn't. Okay, any other questions? With that, we'll stop early today. I want to thank you all, and I want to wish everyone a happy holidays and a Merry Christmas, and we'll see you in the new year.